May 2025 Lunch and Learn. Today we will be talking about open burning with special guests from the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality, Air Quality Division. That is Liz Trithal, who will be speaking here later. We'll start out with a quick introduction from our office and let you know what we do. Give us a quick reminder of what fire codes and what century codes are out there regarding open burning that are applicable to the fire service in North Dakota. So I can get it to advance there. Just real quick about our office, a reminder for anybody that's not familiar. Our office is underneath the North Dakota Insurance Commissioner, which is John Godfried. We do have 8 deputy fire marshal positions. Our map here needs to be updated. We have one in Benson or Ramsey County out of Devil's Lake as well. So we do have 8 deputy fire marshals across the state to assist with oops, sorry, I need to back that up a little bit. Struggle. Back that up. Doing so good. Uh-oh. I've got to end that. Start from the beginning. Okay. So we have 8 deputy fire marshals that do focus on fire prevention through inspections, investigations, plan review, and public education. And we have Marcy Ost is our administrative assistant in the office and our community risk reduction leader who is on the call with us here today as well. So a couple reminders about fire service code enforcement. Out of the North Dakota Century Code, the State Fire Marshal's Office does have the authority to create rules for prevention of fires to be issued. And under Century Code 1816, fire chiefs or auditors must report fires. The reason that reporting of fires in this section of Century Code is important is because this is where it is later stated in that same chapter of Century Code that fire chiefs and auditors may enforce the fire code locally. Chapter out of 18-10-6 also includes the powers for board of directors for fire protection. Rural fire protection districts are governed under 18-10, and it does give the board of directors for a fire protection district the power to determine upon a general fire protection program for the district, which could include fire prevention inspections and code enforcement. There are different sections of Century Code that do have penalties and laws against or concerning open burning, getting out of control, or someone introducing fire to an area that they shouldn't, or negligence of starting fires. Those are all going to be outlined in Century Code Chapter 18-08. And for not extinguishing campfires and misconduct at fires. Essentially, misconduct at fires would come down to a homeowner or somebody not allowing the fire department to respond in the manner that they need to mitigate that fire. If they get in the way or try to prevent them from extinguishing it or cause further issues while extinguishing it. These would all be things to contact our office about, and we can follow up with the local county sheriff or work directly with your local county sheriff if you have any instances of these. Any deliberate or negligent burning is also covered under our Fire Code of North Dakota. We do have specific sections as well under the Fire Code restricting open burning, specifically to fire codes, and also specifics for campfires. And some of that information can be found on our website under our data sheets. We have a campfire fact data sheet that will detail when and how campfires can be done, as well as that's also in compliance with the open burning laws, which we'll hear about later, and the local burn restrictions that are in place. Specifically, prohibited open burning is when the atmospheric conditions or local circumstances make those fires hazardous. Where I want to point everybody to is the Department of Emergency Services and the Department of Forestry North Dakota, they have a burn ban or burn restriction map, and that is available on their website. And that would be the place, if I was a local fire chief, where I would most likely visit to see what those conditions currently are, and if you have a burn restriction, which are typically set up at the county level or possibly city level, to see what burn restrictions you have in place and what levels those restrictions apply to. And if you are in excess of those and you have somebody doing open burning, that's where that would be not allowed or against the administrative rules and laws in place. The fire code of North Dakota does give extinguishment authority to any fire chief when there's a hazardous situation or if open burning is not being done properly. Further details about the bonfires, campfires, and recreational fires. Again, we do have a fact data sheet out now that is available on our resources page of our website, with a number of other fact sheets that we are working on building up. So hopefully if you need this information down the road, it's an easy resource to grab some of that. And that largely covers what we have in place for Century Code and for Fire Code in North Dakota regarding open burning. Marcy, am I missing anything that you can think of?
Nope, I think you nailed it.
All right, so with that, I will stop sharing my screen. And we will pass it over to Liz with Department of Environmental Quality. Thank you very much for being on with us today, Liz. Appreciate it, and would be curious to see what information you have to add to that so we can better inform fire departments about open burning laws and requirements at the state. You are on mute.
I'll share my screen here. See if I can get that to work. Does everyone see my screen at all?
Yep.
Okay. My name's Liz Trithal. I'm with the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality, Division of Air Quality, and today I'll go over the open burning in North Dakota and our state open burning rules and regulations. And if anyone has any questions during my presentation, please just feel free to ask. You don't need to wait till the end or anything like that. So what is open burning? Well, the department's definition of open burning is the burning of any matter in such a manner that the products of combustion resulting from the burning are emitted directly in the ambient air without passing through an adequate stack, duct, or chimney. What that's saying is basically any time that you burn outside, you're conducting open burning. All of the state's rules pertaining to open burning are contained within Chapter 33.1-15-04 of the North Dakota Air Pollution Control Rules, and these are incorporated into the North Dakota Century Code per Chapter 23.1-06. And I'll take you to the department's open burning page. This is kind of what it looks like. Can everyone see that? Did that pop up for everyone?
I don't see your webpage. I still just see your PowerPoint.
Okay. I was afraid that was going to happen. I apologize for that. I don't know why it doesn't want to share that specifically. I know my links and everything work in there, but there's that link, and I can share that this PowerPoint and everything too. That would take you to the open burning page. But on that page, it just gives you information about open burning. It gives you links to forms and everything like that. It's a page that we typically would send people to if they had any questions or whatnot first before they would contact us or a fire department or anything like that. Not that we don't want to talk to them, it just provides really good information for them if they do have any questions or anything, mostly because that page might answer them already for them. there are about 3 main sections in the open burning restrictions. Those include refuse burning restrictions, permissible open burning, and conditions for open burning. And we'll go over those sections here. For refuse burning, it basically just says no person may cause, conduct, or permit open burning of refuse, trade waste, or other combustible materials except as allowed in section 33.1-15-04-02, which is permissible open burning, which we'll go over in a little bit, or section 33.1-15-10-02, which we won't go over during this discussion, but it's really for disposal of pesticide containers that farmers or ranchers might use for their personal use on their property. And no person may conduct, cause, or permit the conduct of a salvage operation by open burning. As you can see, I have kind of trade waste highlighted, underlined. What's trade waste? Best way that I explain it is anything that you acquire while conducting business, whether it be pallets, your tree trimming service, and you take down trees and whatnot, that's still classified as a trade waste. It's anything that you acquire while conducting business. And unfortunately, that's then not a material that we allow to be burned. We'll go over now types of permissible burns that are allowed in the state. These specific burns are allowed. You don't need a variance or anything to conduct these types of burning activities, but they still are required to comply with all of the other regulations that are out there for open burning. These types of burning can include training of public and industrial firefighting personnel, campfires, right-of-way land clearing, agriculture crop burning, and there are several others listed up there. This type of open burning on this page is also permissible, and it doesn't require a variance, but there are conditions that have to be met if they want to conduct, anyone wants to conduct the open burning of household waste. Those conditions are there's no collection and disposal service that's required or directed by a municipality or other government entity. The material to be burned is from a building accommodating no more than one family, and the burning is conducted on the property in which the waste is generated. Condition 1's easy to understand and everything. Condition 2, say you have a house and you're renting out the basement or you're renting out rooms, well, then you don't meet that condition. Condition 3, say you have a house in town, but a farmstead out of town. You can't bring your waste from in town to your farmstead and burn that there. You could burn on your farmstead the waste that you may generate there if you meet all the other conditions, but you just can't you can't haul to one place or another. Now we move on to other types of permissible burning, but the types listed here, they do require prior approval from the department before burning is conducted. These type of burnings include fires set to eliminate a fire hazard that can't be removed by another means or in another way. Fires to remove hazardous materials that there's no other way or lawful way to remove. Prescribed burning. This is typically for like management of your forests, game, rangelands, and typically is done by like your Forest Service or your Game and Fish departments. And then burning of liquid hydrocarbons, or what people generally think of are oil. If there's an oil spill or whatnot, and the best way to go about recovery or cleanup is by open burning. One caveat for items 5, 6, and 8 is if there is immediate danger to human health and safety, burning can go ahead and occur prior to getting approval and prior to providing notice. Caveat is, as soon as you can, as soon as it's practical, you need to get in that notice. You need to get in that application. So even if it's after the fact, after the burns occurred, you still need to provide that notice in that application, so that we know what occurred and how much was burned and things like that. Are there any questions or anything at this point? No? Okay. Now we'll talk about the conditions that apply to all the types of permissible open burning. A public nuisance shouldn't be created. The ambient air or the inside air of an occupied building can't be adversely affected by what's being put in the air from open burning. Pretty much that's stay down, don't burn downwind of an occupied building, whether that be a commercial or a residential building. Living in North Dakota, we know that the wind can switch kind of pretty much at any time. If you start your burn when the winds are blowing away from the buildings and everything like that, we're not going to come at you if the wind switches 5, 10, 15 minutes into your burn. You did your due diligence. You started it when the winds were appropriate. You should minimize the amount of dirt on the material that you're looking to burn, and the material should be dry or seasoned enough to burn cleanly. Again, looking at the weather conditions, it should be favorable, like for the winds and everything, for smoke dispersion. You shouldn't be conducting a burn that's adjacent to any highway or public road so that the smoke drifts over and makes it difficult for any drivers to see or anything like that. You don't want to cause a hazard. Anything that produces unreasonable amounts of air contaminants, such as your oils, rubbers, chemically treated woods, are not permitted to be burned really under any circumstance. Things like that can include creosote treated railroad ties, tires, filter socks, any and everything that has or that's comprised of toxic components shouldn't be burned. This is a picture from 2022. An individual purchased this land that was roughly the size of a football field, and it had tires throughout the area, had an abandoned trailer house, some appliances that were out on the property and everything like that, and he wanted to clean it up, and the way he decided to go about cleaning it up was to burn everything. As you can see in the pictures, you can see the wires that remain from the tires. You can just kind of gives an idea of how many tires were there, and then the thick black smoke that the burning of that material caused. This is a great example of why we don't allow tires and that type of material to be burned. It's just a really bad looking cloud, and one that I don't think anyone looking at this would want to breathe anything with or anything from. Similar to not burning adjacent to a roadway is you should be burning adjacent to an operational airport, whether it's military, commercial, private, just because you don't want that smoke to drift over and cause a hazard for any flying or landing planes. The ambient air of any Class 1 area cannot be adversely impacted. With that said, in emergencies, effects can occur on in the Class 1 areas, but only under emergency situations. And we only have about 3-4 Class 1 areas in North Dakota. It would be the north and south units of the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, the Theodore Roosevelt Elkhorn Ranch site, and the Lostwood National Wilderness area. If you comply with all of that other stuff and you do conduct a burn, the burning activities must be supervised and attended at all times. The department also deems smoldering to be part of a burn, because all it would take would be the wind kicks up some leaves, loose grass, whatnot in the area, and that fire could reignite. Or someone sees the smoldering pile, no one's around, is like, oh, I got some waste that I want to get rid of. I'm going to throw it on that pile and it'll burn and everything. And then that fire is reignited and no one's there. So what we say is if you don't want to be there monitoring it and everything, you must completely extinguish it, which is also why we encourage people to have fires that are not too large for them to be able to completely put out. We want people to have manageable piles that they're going to be burning and everything like that. And then lastly, if state or local fire officials determine conditions are unsafe to burn, you need to stop burning until they deem the conditions are safe again. Now you're wondering, okay, well, I know what I can't, what I'm allowed to burn and what I do and don't need specific paperwork for, but what about other things that aren't explicitly that you haven't told me that I can burn? Well, in order to burn any material that I haven't already talked about, you need to submit an application for an open burning variance. That form is SFN 8509. It must be submitted to and written approval issued from either the department, so it would be myself, or from a district health unit that has issuing authority. Should we get the application for open burn variance, and it is in an area or a county that has a district health unit that has issuing authority, you'd need that district health unit signature and the city or rural fire department signature. We typically like to get the fire chief's signature, but if he's not available, we understand that as well. But for any other area that doesn't have a district health unit with issuing authority, we only require that city or rural fire department signature. This is the map of the North Dakota district and county health units. It shows all of them, all of that we have in the state. They're all color coded. That shows which counties they oversee and everything. And there are only 4 health units that have variance issuing authority in North Dakota. Those are Upper Missouri District Health Unit, Central Valley District Health Unit, Lake Region District Health, and Fargo-Cass Public Health. However, Fargo-Cass only has issuing authority for Fargo specifically. Now, while these district health units have issuing authority, they only have that authority for open burning itself. They don't have authority to issue approval for prescribed burns or for liquid hydrocarbon burns or for any burning that would occur within a landfill. So how do you go about getting a burn variance from the department or from a district health unit? If you have any, first thing we would say, check our webpage. If you still have questions or anything like that, give us a call here at the department. We're absolutely more than happy to answer any and all of your questions. Happy to help you fill out or navigate filling out an application and everything like that. And there are multiple different categories for open burning that require a variance. If you're looking to burn a building or a structure, that requires a burn variance. One little caveat is if you're looking to use a building or for fire training, you don't require a variance, but you would have to get that building or structure inspected for asbestos. Again, the burning within a landfill, special form that you would use for that. Your prescribed burns require prior approval, and your burning of liquid hydrocarbons. These variances can be used for or issued for several reasons: natural disasters or emergencies, undue hardship for like small towns if they have multiple houses that are just abandoned and dilapidated, but they can't afford to have them demolished and removed a lot of time we'll see that a lot. When we get a variance application and if we approve that, it also comes with conditions and time limits. They're good for 60 days from date of signature on the variance approval and everything like that. And even if you apply for a variance, it's not a guarantee that you'll be granted one. Denials can occur, whether it be because there's missing information or the material that you're looking to burn is not something that we allow, or there's misinformation on the applications. It doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened. And if we find out that there's false information that was provided on an application, and it somehow gets approved, it's considered noncompliance and it can result in enforcement actions with the department. Those enforcement actions a lot of times involve monetary fines, and our rules allow us to do a calculation to figure out what those fines would be, and we can fine up to $10,000 per day per violation. So we strongly encourage people to be completely honest with what they're looking to burn, what's there that they're going to be burning, and everything like that. For building and structure burns, again, requires a variance to be variance application to be submitted and written approval issued prior to conducting any burning activities. For private residences and apartment buildings with 4 or less units, if it's the owner of those that are doing the burn, just the application is needed, then written approval from us. There's no asbestos inspection that's required. The caveat is if a private residence wants to burn 2 or more buildings that they own, then that trips them into needing an asbestos inspection. And the same goes for apartment buildings with 4 or less units. If they're looking to burn 2 or more buildings like that, then it trips them into needing the asbestos inspection for those buildings. And along with the variance application, we like to, or we now require pictures to be provided so that we can see what's to be burned, to ensure that if it's like a residential building, it's not full of your typical residential material, like your mattresses, your appliances, that things like that have been taken out prior to conducting the burning, just to ensure that there's no material that's being burned that can't be burned. For businesses that own, for businesses, city-owned property or residence or apartment buildings with 5 or more units, again, you need that application, you need to send in those pictures, and you need to wait until you get that approval before you open burn. But these ones you absolutely have to get an asbestos inspection done prior to conducting any burning. It wouldn't matter if you applied for and were granted a variance before you did the asbestos inspection. You'd have to do that inspection. We typically, from my knowledge, is that doesn't happen, that they're issued before the asbestos inspection happens. And we always try and make it clear that it's in the best interest to get the asbestos inspection done prior to any demolition. Otherwise, you'll have to sift through the material. It takes longer and everything to do that asbestos inspection if a building has already been demolished. But you would submit a notification of demolition, which is SFN 17897, and it can be found on the department's Guide to Demolition and Disposal and Open Burning of Abandoned Houses webpage. We also have that linked right on our Air Quality's webpage as well. You can find there, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's that notification of demolition right there. a copy of this report or inspection report needs to be submitted to the Division of Waste Management Asbestos Control Program. They're the ones that review the asbestos inspection reports. They're the ones that review the burn variances and would be issuing approvals for those types of burns. And for more information, you can always go to the department's asbestos webpage. For any burning that takes place in a landfill, Form SFN 3473 is required to be submitted to the department's Division of Waste Management Solid Waste Program. This form can be found on both the Division of Waste Management Forms webpage or the Division of Air Quality's open burning page. We try to put it in both places just in case someone were to go to one or the other. This form will end up looking very similar to Air Quality's form. Not exactly, but very, very similar. For the landfill burning, it's only clean wood that's allowed to be burned, so no chemically treated woods like telephone poles or railroad ties. It would painted woods, stained woods. It's really just your clean, like your trees, maybe a pallet, something like that. And this type of or this form is used for all types of landfills, whether it's municipal solid waste landfills, inert landfills, permit by rule landfills, which are typically quite small, and a lot of times they only accept the wood waste, like tree debris, things like that. And then some common issues that we have encountered over the years for controlled burns is that these burns will be reported to either state radio or to local dispatch. And beyond asking like the name of the individual who's doing the burning and the address, there's a lot of times from what we hear that there's no follow-up. There's no questions like what are they looking to burn, or if has the department been contacted, have you received a burn variance. So when we get the call that there's a burn going on and we can get a hold of the individual doing the burn, they'll say, well, I called it in to dispatch or whatnot, and they told me I could burn, and we'll end up saying, well, you couldn't burn this. They're like, well, they didn't tell me I couldn't burn that, or they didn't ask me what I was burning. And so we end up having to be the bad guy and telling them that unfortunately we're the only ones, or some district health units are the only ones that could have given you approval to burn this, and you had to get a variance to do this. And so we always try to push like for follow-up questions to be asked, and we're always so thankful when dispatch does ask these, because it helps us, it helps the citizens, and it just gives information out that a lot of people don't really have, or don't really think that there would be rules on for open burning and everything like that. But that is about it for me. I do apologize that my links wouldn't let you guys see those pages and everything. But on this page is the contact for air quality, our asbestos program, and our solid waste program contacts. Could call those if anyone has any questions or anything like that, and anyone would be happy to talk with them. But are there any questions or anything that you were hoping to see but didn't?
I don't think so. I think that was good
I
information,
think that
Liz.
was
We
great.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll just add in there, we do still have, I think on our, at least on our website, it may be available on yours also. We have a joint fact sheet between Department of Environmental Quality and ourselves on open burning. So hopefully that also covers most of the topics that were covered here today. And then the other thing that I was going to mention is, yes, you know, if you as a local fire chief or fire department have questions on the current conditions and what those are, please find the burn ban or burn restriction map located on the Department of Emergency Services website. And that's provided by the Department of Emergency Services, National Weather Service, and the Department of Forestry work together on that on a daily, at least right now, basis to keep that updated for conditions. So if you have questions on what the conditions actually are, that's the place to look for that. Liz, did you have anything else before we stop the recording and end this one?
Can everyone see my page? Because I figured since you're talking about that burn restriction, I might pull it up.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, here's where it would take you to a map. This has like if there are any burn restrictions in place, you can go look and find your county and everything. You can go here and you can find your fire danger ratings on here to let you know if you're good to burn or not. Obviously, once you have your danger rating, you can see what your restrictions are, and if that rating then says whether there is you have to comply with the restriction or if the restriction is not technically in place at the time. And it's great to always check these like just before you burn because they can change throughout the day. It's not, oh, let's check it at 8 a.m. Oh, it says it's fine. We're going to burn at 4 a.m. It could change in between there, depending on the weather and everything like that. So.
Yep, good points. Thanks for sharing that. All right, unless there are any other questions, that's all we had for today. I want to say again, thank you to the Department of Environmental Quality for working with us on that and to be able to get this information out to fire departments in the state. Thanks, Marcy, for organizing and coordinating it all. And until next month, have a good day.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Liz.
Thank you. Do you guys want me to try and figure out how to get you a copy of the PowerPoint at all?
Sure.
Yeah. We
take all the information we can get.
Okay. I'll see if I can figure out how to send that to you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.